Well, hello again, audience. Austin Brightsmile here. Welcome to another edition of Beat the Bible Scholar. By now we know the routine, so we'll start by welcoming our returning champion. She now has 6 PhDs in fields related to biblical studies, has written almost 100 commentaries on the Old and New Testament, and recently took a time machine back to 900 BC to collect the King of Moab's favorite punch bowl. Please welcome again, Dr. Annabelle Martzer. So, Dr. Martzer, how about that punch bowl? Is it a real hit at parties?
Oh, I'm not using it for that, Austin. No one in their right mind would drink out of a punch bowl that hasn't been washed in nearly 2,000 years.
Oh, yes, of course. Sorry about that. Now it's time to meet this round's fundy atheist. By day, he's a paleontologist who collects old bones. His hobbies include ballet and saxophone polishing. And he's won 3rd place in the Vampire Lestat Lookalike Contest. Please welcome Count Aron Ra.
Hey, wait a minute. Who are you to boo me? I will boo you instead. Boo! One boo!
Okay, I'm glad to see you can count to 1, Count. Now let's see what pops up on our category board. It's the existence of Jesus. And today is a special speed round with only 3 questions. This should be interesting since Dr. Martzer recently wrote a book on this subject. And I understand Count Aron Ra has recently come out in favor of Jesus not existing. Is that right, Count?
Why yes, Austin, that is so. I have interviewed several scholars who reject the existence of Jesus. Watch this. 1 fringe scholar. 2 fringe scholars. 3 fringe scholars.
Can we get on with this, please?
Yes, I am sorry. I will stop counting now.
Great. Let's get right to question 1. In the Gospels, Jesus' disciples do not wash their hands. What does this indicate?
One question! Blah, blah. It indicates that Jesus was a moron who did not know anything about pathogens. Any real God would make people wash their hands. One stupid God-man mistake.
Yeah, that's a good one. Dr. Martzer?
Actually, Austin, given the sanitary conditions of the day, washing your hands the way they usually did, in a sort of communal bucket, was as likely to add pathogens to your hands as clean them off. Not that that's why they washed their hands in the first place. It was for ritual purity, not physical cleanliness.
Bah, that makes no sense. If Jesus were God, he would have told us all about germs and how to make antibiotics.
Give me a break, Count Aron Ra.
Okay, next up, Petey's complaints about what Jesus didn't teach. And by the way, since it seems Petey's too chicken to answer any of this stuff we posted, we'll close out the series with this one, for now. There's a whole bunch of things Petey supposes Jesus should have taught about, but nothing much is given in terms of showing some notable or relevant lack. So we're just going to pick one point and analyze it so we can show just how short-sighted Petey is. He says that if Jesus had been God, he would have taught us of painkillers and antibiotics in the 1st century. Jesus should have given people information about how to make the synthetic antibiotics we find in the modern world. Jesus the drug dealer. Yeah. The problem with this scenario is illustrated by a novel by one of my favorite authors, Harry Turtledove, titled Guns of the South. In this book, time travelers helped the South win the Civil War by bringing the Confederacy a bunch of, AK-47s. Pretty goofy stuff, but there's a part near the end that applies to our situation. The time travelers are captured by the Confederacy, and General Lee is taken into their secret hideout, where they have some modern computers. Lee asks how the Confederates can make computers, and here's what the time traveler said. You not only lack the technology you need, you lack the technology to make the technology you need, and likely a couple of more regressions before that too. In other words, as applied to what Petey is suggesting, it wouldn't be a simple matter of Jesus saying, "Hey everyone, here's some antibiotics and how to make them." Jesus would also have had to introduce a lot of other technologies related to chemistry, pharmacology, and other sciences. So here's the question Petey doesn't consider. He thinks it would have been a wonderful blessing for Jesus to have introduced all this stuff in the first century. But would it have been?
John, I think we'd best get things ready for the Master's sermon. It should start in a few hours. Eh? Who are you?
A time traveler. I've got something for you. Antibiotics. And here's a whole book on how to make them. I'll tell your master that no thanks are needed. Just tell him they're from Peter Breitbart. A smarter Peter. It's good to be home into the paradise that... What? Hey, wait a minute. What happened to Hyde Park? Who are you?
I am Greymax, master of this domain. Who are you to dare trespass?
Well, me? Well, I'm Peter Breitbart. You know, the Bronze Age historian.
What? You? You're the one that caused all this.
What do you mean?
You were the one who introduced antibiotics to the first century. Don't you realize the trouble you've caused? The Romans took what you brought and used it to develop sophisticated germ warfare. That's what produced this. Our world as it is now. Lifeless, barren. A place none can live except as mechanized constructs like me. And it's all your fault.
So, there's the problem. Petey assumes it would have been a blessing for Jesus to introduce modern medicine in the first century. But how does he know it wouldn't have actually been a curse? And then his vid would have looked like this.
Hey, that Jesus sure was incompetent to introduce antibiotics in the first century. Didn't he know it would cause all this?
Yep, short-sighted and presumptuous. That's the word. See you around.
Would you like to see my collection of postage stamps from the Jurassic period?
Maybe later. Let's go on to question 2. In the Gospels, Jesus says that the mustard seed is the smallest of seeds. What does this indicate?
Blah, blah! It indicates he is a moron who did not know anything about botany. Even in his day there were seeds smaller than mustard seeds. Two stupid godman mistakes!
Yeah, who does your special effects? And how long have they been deceased? Dr. Martzer?
The Greek word does not merely have size in view. For example, it is also used in Luke 9:48 to refer to the least in rank among the disciples. Obviously, Jesus did not mean here that he who is smallest in size would be greatest. So the mustard seed description is not an evaluation of size at all, but an evaluation of worth or honor. That's a matter of personal judgment that can't be charged as erroneous.
What are you saying here? That size doesn't matter? I have a Tyrannosaurus Rex that says otherwise.
Yeah, so bring him out here.
Hey, you! Come on out!
Yeah, let's go to question 3. In the book of Revelation, Jesus says he will return soon. What does this mean?
I will tell you what it means. Do you remember how the story has Jesus telling his disciples that none of them would even taste of death before he returned? That is why they embellished the story so soon. They really wanted to believe it. That's how faith works. That's why they're still waiting for him now, even though he's a couple of thousand years late. The reason he has not returned yet is that he was never here in the first place. Three stupid godman mistakes.
Boy, is that routine getting old. Dr. Martzer?
Actually, the language of Jesus' parousia refers not to a physical return to earth, but the assumption by Jesus of the throne of the Son of Man in heaven. We're not waiting on anything. Based on Matthew 24, we're meant to understand that that would happen at the time of the destruction of Jerusalem in 70 A.D.
What in the bloody heck are you talking about?
I'm not surprised you ask. People who believe in fringe lunacy like Jesus not even existing wouldn't know.
Oh, you smarty pants. Your apologist Justin Martyr said that Christians taught nothing new when they said that Jesus was born of a virgin and rose from the dead, and that the devil initiated the prophecies, so he admitted that the stories of Jesus were copied from other sources.
Not quite.
Hey folks, the legend we'll look at this time comes from a sect of fundy atheists that buys into the idea that the story of Jesus was stolen from pagan myths. The legend is that certain early church writers, such as Justin Martyr, were so desperate to explain away obvious similarities between Jesus and pagan figures that they blamed Satan for inspiring the parallels before the time of Jesus. Well, as with many fundy atheist legends, there's a germ of truth here. You see...
Too bad, Holdy. Justin Martyr was a lot smarter than you are, even if he was more desperate to explain those obvious parallels.
Yeah, like which ones?
Like Mithra dying and rising from the dead 3 days later.
Yeah, that's a bunch of bull. Anyway, let's talk about the most popular of these claims, the one associated with Justin Martyr, who lived in the early 2nd century A.D. The quotes the fundy atheists have in mind come from Justin's first apology, and we'll put an example of one of them on the screen for you here. Fundy atheists will say that the point is that Justin saw the parallels between Jesus and Dionysus, and tried to explain them away with this devil did it explanation. But let's look at another quote or two that puts things in more clear perspective. As can be seen, what Justin is really arguing is that the devil read Old Testament passages, and then tried to create what he thought were imitations of what was coming. But as Justin goes on to say, Satan actually did a really bad job of anticipating what was going to happen. What this means is that the pagans he is arguing against don't see any parallels between Jesus and pagan figures like Dionysus. Instead, he was trying to convince the pagans that there were parallels, because the pagans just didn't see them. So in that respect, Justin was really arguing for the same views the fundy atheists have about figures like Mithra. And it was the pagans who were on the side of modern apologists like me who say the parallels are either forced or fraudulent. And actually, they are. Oops. That's all for this episode. As you can see, this use of Justin Martyr by the fundy atheist is nothing but a lot of...
Wow!
Yeah, that. See you next time.
So, what do you say to that, Count Aron Raw?
Robert Price has an interesting theory that Josephus might be the same person as Joseph of Arimathea.
Well, I think we've seen enough. Dr. Martzer, you're our winner once again.
I will not stand for this. Behold my power!
Oh well, thanks for tuning in. We'll see you next time on Beat the Bible Scholar.